Good evening, everybody. This is chapter 10 of the book of Isaiah. Woe is against oppressors in Syria, those who write out evil writs and compose iniquitous documents, to subvert the cause of the poor, to rob of their rights the needy of my people, that widows may be their spoil and fatherless children their booty. What will you do on their day of punishment when the calamity comes from afar? To whom will you flee for help? And how will you save your carcasses from collapsing under fellow prisoners, from falling beneath the slain? Yet his anger is not turned back, and his arm is outstretched still. Ha, Assyria, rod of my anger, in whose hand as its staff, as my fury, I send him against an ungodly nation. I charge him against a people that provokes me, to take its spoil and to seize its beauty, and to make it a thing trampled like the mire of the streets. But he has evil plans. His mind harbors evil designs, for he means to destroy, to wipe out nations, not a few. For he thinks, after all, I have kings as my captains. Was Calno any different than Carchemish or Hamath from Arpad or Samaria from Damascus? Since I was able to seize the insignificant kingdoms whose images exceed Jerusalem's and Samaria's. Interesting. So there was kingdoms lower that had more images and they were seized. So, maybe like letters in the language. Who would you think of that? I'm not going to say any, but you can figure out for yourself. There's other languages that have way more letters and stuff. Anyway, so shall I not do to Jerusalem and her images what I did to Samaria and her idols? Next part, arrogance of Assyria to be punished. But when my Lord is carry out all of his purpose on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, he will punish the majestic pride and overbearing arrogance of the king of Assyria. For he thought, by the might of my hand have I wrought it, by my skill, for I am clever. I have erased the borders of people, I have plundered their treasures and exiled their vast populations. I was able to seize like a nest the wealth of peoples, as one gathers abandoned eggs, so I gathered all of the earth. Nothing so much as flapped a wing or opened a mouth to peep. Does an axe boast over him as he who's with it, or a saw magnify itself above him who wields it, as though the rod raised him who lifts it, as though the staff lifted the man? Assuredly, the sovereign Lord of hosts will send a wasting away in its fatness, and other its body shall burn a burning like that of fire, destroying brain and flesh. It shall be like a sick man who pines away. The light of Israel will be fire, and its Holy One flame. It will burn and consume its thorns and its thistles in a single day. And the mass of its scrub and its farmland, what trees shall remain of its scrub, shall be so few that a boy may record them. And in that day, the remnant of Israel and the escape of the house of Jacob shall learn, or shall lean no more upon that beats it, but shall lean sincerely on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. Only a remnant shall return, only a remnant of Jacob to mighty God. Even if your people, O Israel, should be as the sands of the sea, only a remnant of it shall return. Destruction is decreed, retribution comes like a flood. So, like a lot of us are saying, man, we're only a fraction of what we once were. And like we're trying to recreate. I don't agree with all the things that the elites are doing, but there are some good millionaires who want to study these archaeological data and artifacts and put them two and two together and make something new. I don't believe that that's against God to use what the people of God had around, because I do not believe for 1 second that these dudes had an IQ of 100, man. I believe that these dudes were very intelligent people, as a chest plate of Aaron had with 12 stones. I believe that those stones were in a certain frequency pattern that when combined, it produced a special aura, special ability, like frequency that was translated back into the body, because our body adapts to the frequencies of gold, of silver, of jewels, and our body actually changes with, let's just say a time crystal like esque crystal formation of multiple crystals that the ancients knew. I'm not saying a time crystal, but like, something else, a strength formation. Who knows? Maybe they just had it on a computer chip like shield. But I believe that these dudes were using higher technology, and that's the way I see it over and over and over again through all the scriptures. I mean, they talk about laser weapons. They talk about flying spaceships. They talk about so much other stuff. It's obvious that they were using technology, and I think we should keep on discovering more of this technology and the words in the Bible that talks about how we were once with maybe this technology, like when we turn uh you know a small amount of fish into a lot of fish. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but that's just one example, or how they parted the seas. Anyways, for my Lord God of hosts is carrying out a decree of destruction upon all land. Who? Promise of deliverance from Assyria. Assuredly, thus, my Lord God of hosts, O people that dwells in Zion, have no fear of Assyria. He who beat you with a rod and wields his staff over you, as did the Egyptians. For very soon my wrath will have spent itself, and my anger that was bent on wasting them. The Lord of hosts will brandish a scourge over him, as when he beat Midian at the rock of Oreb, and will wield his staff as he did over the Egyptians by the sea. And in that day his burden shall drop from your back, and his yoke from your neck. Iron, the yoke shall be destroyed because of fatness. He advanced upon Iath, and he proceeded to Migron. At Michmas he deposited his baggage. They made the crossing. Geba is to be our night quarters. Ramah was alarmed. Gibeah of Saul took to flight. Give, O Sheol, cry, O Bath Alim, hearken. Lasha, take up the cry, O Anathoth. Madnena ran away. The dwellers of Gibeon sought refuge. This same day at Nob, he shall stand and wave his hand, O Mount of fair Zion, O hill of Jerusalem. Lo, the sovereign Lord of hosts will hew off the tree crowns with an axe. The tall ones shall be felled, the lofty ones cut down. The thicket of the forest shall be hacked away with, and the Lebanon trees shall fall in their majesty. Chapter 11. Peaceful reign of a future king. But a shoot shall grow out of the stump of Jesse, a twig shall sprout from his stalk. The Spirit of the Lord shall alight upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and insight. Lord, a spirit of counsel and valor, a spirit of devotion and reverence for the Lord. He shall sense the truth by his reverence for the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes behold, nor decide by what his ears perceive. Thus he shall judge the poor with equity, and decide with justice for the lowly of the land. He shall strike down a land with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Justice shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his waist. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid, the calf, the beast of prey, the fatling together with the little boy to herd them. The cow and the bear shall graze, and their young shall lie down together, and the lion like the ox shall eat straw. A babe shall play over a viper's hole, and an infant pass his hand over an adder's den. In all of my sacred mount, nothing evil or vile shall be done, for the land shall be filled with devotion to the Lord as waters cover the sea. Now, I mean, like, that's interesting how they reference the bird, not the birds, the animals with each other in certain ways. I mean, I'm not saying this correlates to any other cultures, but like you hear about other cultures where they talk about, yeah, this was supposed to be from ancient ways with the animals, and um this is, yeah, pretty cool. The remnant of Israel and Judah return. In that day, the stock of Jesse that has remained standing shall become a standard to peoples. Nations shall seek his counsel, and his abode shall be honored. In that day, my Lord will apply his hand again to redeeming the other parts of his people from Assyria, as also from Egypt, Pathros, Nubia, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and the coastlands. He will hold up a signal to the nations and assemble the banished of Israel, and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Then Ephraim's envy shall cease, and Judah's harassment shall end. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and the Judah shall not harass Ephraim. They shall pounce on the back of Philistia to the west, and together plunder the peoples of the east. Edom and Moab shall be subject to them, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. The Lord will dry up the tongue of the Egyptian sea. He will raise his hand over the Euphrates with the might of his wind, and break it into 7 wadis, so that it can be trodden dry shod. There shall be a highway for the other part of his people out of Assyria, such as there was for Israel when it left the land of Egypt. Chapter 12, a thanksgiving and praise for the Lord. In that day you shall say, I give thanks to you, O Lord. Although you were wroth with me, your wrath has turned back, and you comfort me. Behold the God who gives me triumph. I am confident, unafraid, for Yah, the Lord, is my strength and might, and he been my deliverance. Joyfully shall you draw from the fountains of triumph. And you shall say on that day, praise the Lord, proclaim his name, make his deeds known among the people, declare that his name is exalted. Him the Lord, for he has done gloriously. Let this be made known in all the world. For shout to joy who dwell in Zion, for great in your midst is the Holy One of Israel. Chapter 13. Oracle against Babylon. The Babylon pronouncement, a prophecy of Isaiah, son of Amoz. Raise a standard upon a bare hill. Cry aloud to them. Wave a hand and let them enter the gates of nobles. I have summoned my purified guests to execute my wrath. Behold, and I have called my stalwarts, my proudly exultant ones. Hark, a tumult on the mountains as of a mighty force. Hark, an uproar of kingdoms, nation assembling. The Lord of hosts is mustering a host of war. They come from a distant land, from the end of the sky. The Lord with the weapons of his wrath to ravage all of the earth. They come from a distant land, from the end of the sky. The Lord with the weapons of his wrath to ravage the earth. Sounds like higher dimensional weapons to me. How for the day of the Lord is near, it shall come like havoc from Shaddai. And there was a geomagnetic storm, and Elon's SpaceX rockets got shot down. Therefore, all hands shall grow limp, and all men's hearts shall sink, and overcome by terror, they shall be seized by pangs and throes, writhed like a woman in travail. They shall gaze at each other in horror, their faces livid with fright. Lo, the day of the Lord is coming with pitiless fury and wrath, to make the earth a desolation, to wipe out the sinners upon it. The stars and the constellations of heaven shall not give off their light. The sun shall be dark when it rises. The moon shall diffuse no glow. And I will requite to the world its evil, and to the wickedness their iniquity. I will put an end to the pride of the arrogant, and humble the haughtiness of the tyrants. So, man, think about China, dude. Like, in certain parts of China, the smog is so bad they can't see the night light. They can't see the starlight, bro. Man, yo, so when they say the return of God is soon, I believe it, man. I believe it. Like, I believe it. I will make people scarcer than fine gold, and men than gold of Ophir. Therefore shall heaven be shaken, and the earth leap out of its place at the fury of the Lord of hosts on the day of his burning wrath. Then, like gazelles that are chased, and like sheep that no man gathers, each man shall turn his back on his people. They shall flee, everyone to his land. All who remain shall be pierced through. All who are caught shall fall by the sword, and their babes shall be dashed to pieces in their sight. Their homes shall be plundered, and their wives shall be raped. Behold, I stir up the Medes against them, who do not value silver or delight in gold. What did I just read? Is that, man? That's what in the their bows shall shatter the young. They shall show no pity to infants. They shall not spare the children. And Babylon, glory of kingdoms, proud splendor of the Chaldeans, shall become like Sodom and Gomorrah, overturned by God. Oh, so he's talking about New Babylon. That's what he thinks well, oh man, well, that is what New Babylon is doing if you think about it. Like, if you hear about what happens in certain parts of the world. Yeah, dude, like, if you get caught being a Christian, or sorry, dude, my bad. If you get caught being like the wrong religion in the wrong place in certain places in the world, uh real bad things will happen to you. Like things of this nature. And a lot of celebrities have been talking about like New Babylon, and even the dollar bill tries to recreate a New Babylon. And like, man, this world right now, it's a little sick, and I see the sickness getting cleared up soon, hopefully. Phew. Nevermore shall it be settled nor dwelt in through all the ages. No Arab shall pitch his tent there. No shepherd shall make flocks lie down there. But beasts shall lie down there, and the houses be filled with owls. There shall ostriches in their homes, and there shall satyrs dance, and jackals shall abide in its castles, and dragons in the palaces of pleasure. Her hour is close at hand, her days will not be long. So that sounds like that Babylon-esque is attached to a dark witch energy, which, if anybody knows of like Morgana from Thor and Odin, or I think what do they call? I forgot, man. There's I wouldn't say it's Lilith or some. No, I don't know. I forgot what it is. But there's also another old evil, like false. I wouldn't say false woman because she's real, but like a deceiver type. And there's a guy too, probably, but there's also a woman that's referenced over and over. I'm not saying ISIS because that's not what I don't think it's that. No. You guys can go ahead and get into that more. But there is definitely, like, Morgana was the first one that popped up because I know that she was supposed to be evil, and she wanted to take over in an evil way. That's what the movie Thor had. She took over the kingdom, or she tried taking over the kingdom. Anyways, chapter 14, Judah restored. For the Lord will have compassion on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. But the stranger shall join himself with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and for handmaids. And they shall take them captive, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy travel, and from thy trouble, and from the hard service wherein thou wast has been made to serve, thou shalt take up this parable against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor seized, the exactress of gold seized? Man, the wordplay is tricky. The Lord has broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers, that smote the peoples in wrath with an insistent stroke, that ruled the, oh man, that ruled the nations in anger with a persecution that none restrained. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yeah, the cypresses rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. The nether world from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. So they do talk about the nether world, the hidden dimension, like hidden, the dark world, I'm guessing. The shades are stirred up for thee, and even all the chief ones of the earth, all the kings of the nations are raised up from their thrones. So that's interesting. Like they're talking about the spirit world coming alive, which just fascinatingly, if you look up some of these patents from Microsoft and our government, they're trying to bring the spirit world back to life through technology. All they do answer and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Sheesh, man. Some of these, if you read about some of these technologies being introduced on the other side for the bad of humanity, they're really making people into weak as dead beings, like trying to genomically, so you're in your DNA and you're atomically in your atoms, and water particles in your body all be killed by these technologies. So they're just trying to like destroy your whole existence through chemical, biological, radiological natures. And which is why I'm trying to heal your chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear natures. Thy pomp is brought down to the netherworld, and the noise of thy psalteries, the maggot is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. The fall of Babylon. How art thou fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, that didst cast lots over the nations? It's talking about Lucifer, I believe. And thou said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven above the stars of God, will I exalt my throne, and I will sit upon the mount of meeting in the uttermost parts of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Whoo! That's a lie. Yet thou shalt be brought down to the netherworld, to the uttermost parts of the pit. They that saw thee do narrowly look upon thee, they gaze earnestly at thee. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of his nations, all of them sleep in glory, every one of his own house. But thou art cast forth away from thy grave like an abhorred offshoot in the remnant of the slain that are thrust through with the sword, that go down to the pavement of the pit as a carcass trodden underfoot. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land. Thou hast slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall not be named forever. Prepare yea slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they rise not up and possess the earth and fill the face of the world with cities. And I will rise up against them, said the Lord of hosts, and cut off from the Babylon's name a remnant and offshoot and offspring, said the Lord. So every time Babylon tries to rise, the Lord destroys it. Which, hey man, you see what's happened to America. You and I and a lot of others like me who think like, in the biblical sense, see this. We are not afraid. We're very well aware, and a lot of us are just trying to help y'all be very aware that, like, yes, even though we believe in God, these people who control these Hollywood music videos and these laws, as you can see with the crack pipes. These don't believe in God. These are Babylon worshippers. Let me go on. And I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with a besom of destruction, said the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break Ashur in my hand, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulder. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth, and this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations, for the Lord of hosts has purposed. And who shall disannul it? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? So he's saying, who shall cancel it? I might have to read some of this translated to simple side, because this I've been reading the unsimple side, the Elden side, and man, pretty pretty tough. All right, this oracle happened in the year that King Ahaz dies. Do not rejoice, all of you Philistines, that the rod which struck you had been broken, for an adder will come forth from the serpents, and its tissues will be fiery flying serpent. Oh, let me read this in the appropriate way. Yeah, man, I'm gonna read it in the Elden way. It's much cooler, and it actually says more. I mean, remember, simpler isn't always better. Rejoice not, O Philistia, O all of thee, because the rod that smote thee is broken, for out of the serpent's roots shall come forth a basilisk, and his fruit shall be a flying serpent. Y'all seen all those basilisk talk from a couple years ago, the ones that were just appearing out of nowhere. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and thy remnant will be slain. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, melt away, O Philistia, all of thee, for there cometh a smoke out of the north, and there is no straggler in his ranks. What then shall one answer the messengers of the nations, that the Lord hath founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people take refuge? Chapter 15. Oracle against Moab. The burden of Moab, for in the night that Ar of Moab is laid to waste, he is brought to ruin. For in the night that Kir of Moab is laid waste, he is brought to ruin. He is gone up to Bath and to Debon, to the high places, to weep upon Nebo and upon Medeba. Moab howleth, and all their heads is baldness. Every beard is shaven. In their streets they gird themselves with sackcloth. On their housetops and in their broad places, everyone howleth, weeping profusely. And Heshbon crieth out, and Eliah, their voice is heard, even on Jahaz. Therefore, their army of Moab cry aloud, his soul is faint within him. My heart crieth out for Moab, her fugitives reach unto Zoar, a heifer of 3 years old, for by the ascent of Luhith with weeping they go up, for in the way of Horonim they raise up a cry of destruction, for the waters of Nimrim shall be desolate, for the grass is withered away, the herbage faileth, there is no green thing. Therefore the abundance they have gotten, and that which they have laid up, shall they carry away to the brook of the willows. For thy cry is gone round the borders of Moab, the howling thereof unto Eglaim, and the howling thereof Berilim. For the waters of Dimon are full of blood. Wow, what a what a coincidence. The waters of Dimon, Diomon, are full of blood. For I will bring yet upon more Dimon a lion upon him that escaped of Moab, and upon the remnant of the land. I'm not. I'm positive. I'm sure that's just a name, but it's just Just an interesting coincidence. Chapter 16, Moab seeks aid from Judah. Send ye the lambs of the ruler of the land from the crags that are toward the wilderness unto the mount of the daughter of Zion, for it shall be as wandering birds, as scattered nests shall the daughters of Moab be at the fords of Arnon. Give counsel, execute justice, make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcast, betray not the fugitive. Let mine outcast dwell with thee. As for Moab, be thou a covert to him from the face of the spoiler, for the extortion is at end. Spoileth ceaseth, that they trampled down are consumed out of the land. And a throne is established through mercy, and there sitteth thereon in truth in the tent of David, one that judgeth and seeketh justly and is ready in righteousness. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even in his haughtiness and his pride and his arrogancy. He is ill-foundings boasting. Both his ill-founded boastings. Thereof shall Moab wail for Moab. Everyone shall wail for the sweet cakes of Kir Hareseth shall ye mourn, sorely stricken, for the fields of Heshbon languish, and the vine of Sibmah, whose choice plants did overcome the lords of nations. They reached even unto Jazer, they wandered into the wilderness, her branches were spread abroad. They passed over the sea. Therefore I will weep with the weeping of Jazer, for the vine of Sibmah I will water thee with my tears, O Heshbon and Elileah. For upon thy summer fruits and upon thy harvest the battle shout is fallen. The gladness and joy are taken out of the fruit-filled field, and in the vineyards there shall be no singing, neither shall be shouting. No treader shall tread out wine in the presses. I have made the vintage shout to seize, whereof my heart moaneth like a harp for Moab, and mine inward part for Kirheres. It shall come to pass, and when it is seen that Moab hath wearied himself upon the high place, and he shall come to his sanctuary to pray, but he shall not prevail. This is the word that the Lord spoke concerning Moab in time past. But now the Lord hath spoken, saying, within 3 years, as the years of a hireling, and the glory of Moab shall wax contemptible, for all his great multitude, and the remnant shall be very small and without strength. Chapter 17, Oracle concerning Damascus. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aroer are forsaken, they shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Aram shall be the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. And it shall come to pass in that day that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as the harvestman gathereth the standing corn, and reapeth the ears of his arm. Yeah, it shall be as when one gleaneth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet there shall be left therein gleanings, and as the beatings of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries at the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the branches of the fruitful tree, saith the Lord God of Israel. In that day, man regard his maker, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. And he shall not regard the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall he look to that which his fingers have made, either the Asherim or the sun images. In that day his strong city shall be as forsaken places, which were forsaken from before the children of Israel, after the manner of woods and lofty forests, and it shall be a desolation. And for thou hast forgotten the God of thy salvation, and thou hast not been mindful of the rock of thy stronghold. Therefore thou didst plants of pleasantness, and didn't set it with slips of strangers. In the day of thy planting thou didst make it to grow, and in the morning thou didst make thy seeds to blossom, a heap of boughs in the day of grief and desperate pain, and in the uproar of many peoples that roar like a roaring of the seas, and the rushing of nations that rush like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but he shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like the whirling dust before the storm. At eventide, behold terror, and before the morning they are not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and they are lots of them that rob us. Chapter 18, Oracle concerning Ethiopia. Ah, the land of buzzing of wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, descendeth ambassadors by sea, even in vessels of papyrus upon thy waters go, yea, swift messengers to a nation tall and of glossy skin, to a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation that is sturdy and treadeth down, whose land the rivers divide. All ye inhabitants of the world. Man, you know, that almost seems like America, the Mississippi was known forever to be the river that divided America. And Indians did paint themselves with paint like gloss-ish. And they did say that 100 years ago, the Indians were living here peacefully with giants. So that would be the tall. Anyways, all ye inhabitants of the world, and ye dwellers on the earth, when an ensign is lifted up on the mountains, see ye, and when the horn is blown, hear ye. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, I will hold me still, and I will look on my dwelling place like clear heat and sunshine, like a cloud in dew in the heat of harvest. But before the harvest, when the blossom is over, and the bud becometh a ripening grape, he will cut off the sprigs like pruning hooks, and the shoots will he take away and lop off. Thy will be left together until the ravenous birds of the mountains, and to the beasts of the earth, and the ravenous birds shall summer upon them, and all the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. And in that time shall a present be brought unto the Lord of hosts, of a people and tall and of glossy skin, and from the people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation that is sturdy and treadeth down, whose land the rivers divided, to the place of the Lord, the name of the Lord of hosts, to Mount Zion. All right, maybe it was America. Maybe it is. Who knows? Probably not. Maybe it says Mount Zion right here, and that's what it is. Or whatever. Chapter 19, Oracle concerning Egypt. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and cometh unto Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt within it. And I will spur Egypt against Egypt, and they shall fall. They shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Man, that's what's happening right now. So look, bro, they are like, maybe we're living in revelational end times for real, because that's what's happening right now. And the spirit of Egypt shall be made empty within it, and I will make void the counsel thereof, and they shall seek unto the idols, and to the worshippers, and to the ghosts, and to the familiar spirits. And I will give over the Egyptians into the land of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be drained dry, and the river shall become foul, and the streams of Egypt shall be diminished and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither, and the mosses by the Nile, by the brink of the Nile, and all that is sown by the Nile shall dry and be driven away and be no more. The fishers shall be lament, and all that cast angle into the Nile shall mourn, and they spread nets upon the waters that shall languish. So they did say that, thousand or a couple thousand years ago, that the all of Africa was thriving, and I mean thriving with life, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes dead. Moreover, that they work in combined flax, and that they weave cotton, shall be ashamed, and her foundation shall be crushed. All that they make dam shall be grieved in soul. The princess of Zoan are utter fools. The wisest counselors of Pharaohs are his senseless counselors. How can you say unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? Where are they than thy wise man, and let them come thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath purposed concerning Egypt. The princes of Zoan are becoming fools, the princes of Noph are deceived. They have caused Egypt to go astray, that are the cornerstone of her tribes. The Lord hath mingled with a spirit of dizziness, and they have caused Egypt to stagger in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggering in his vomit. Neither shall there be for Egypt any work which head or tail, palm branch, or rush shall do. Fate of Egypt. In that day, Egypt shall be unto woman, and it shall tremble in fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And the land of Judah shall become a terror unto Egypt, whomsoever one maketh mention thereof, and it shall be afraid because of the purpose of the Lord of hosts, which he purposed against it. And in that day there shall be 5 cities in the land of Egypt that speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts. One shall be called the city of destruction. In that day there shall be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof of the Lord, and it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt, where they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors. And he will send them a savior, a defender, who will deliver them. And the Lord shall make himself known to Egypt. The Egyptians shall know the Lord. In that day they shall worship with sacrifice and offerings, and shall vow a vow unto the Lord, and shall perform it. And the Lord will smite Egypt, smiting and healing, and they shall return unto the Lord, and he will be entreated unto them, and will heal them. In that day there will be a highway out of the Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come unto Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall worship with the Assyrians. And in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the Lord. For that the Lord of hosts had blessed him, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people of Assyria, and the work of hands, and Israel mine inheritance. Chapter 20, the future shame on Egypt. In that year that Tartan came into Ashdod, when Sargon the king of Assyria sent him, and he fought against Ashdod and took it. And in that time the Lord spoke by Isaiah the son of Amoz, Go and loose the sackcloth from off thy loins, and put thy shoe from off thy foot. And he did so, walking naked and barefoot. And the Lord said, like as my servant Isaiah hath walked naked and barefoot, to be for over 3 years a sign and wonder upon Egypt and Ethiopia, so shall the king of Assyria lead away the captives of Egypt and the exiles of Ethiopia, young and old, naked and barefoot, with the buttocks covered, to the shame of Egypt, and they shall be dismayed, ashamed, because of their Ethiopia, their expectation, and of the Egypt, their glory. And the inhabitant of this coastland shall say in that day, Behold, such is our expectation, whither we fled to help be delivered from the king of Assyria, or how shall we escape? All right, so as you can see, he's changing things up in Egypt and Babylon, and uh, or changing things in Egypt, and really, really against his Babylonic nature. I've been saying it for a while, and a lot of people are saying, like, man, some of these cultures and some of these leaders are very dark minded, coming from a place of dark worshiping. And you see where they talk about owls worship, rape, you know, like wickedness and all that bad stuff, man. Not with it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be covering more. I have a lot more to go. I'll be making more videos faster and faster, and doing more works. This is just the beginning. I'm doing this to, find some friends, uh, talk about some things that I love talking about and love reading, and I want to help others understand these things, with some of the other information that I provide. So, I want to provide some type of, wisdom or knowledge or information, whichever way you call it. I want to provide some type of energy for the people, help us evolve. And, you know, um, and as I do read this and read the articles, you can see that already I got my first video removed. So you can imagine that that wasn't the first. I've had many Snapchat accounts banned, many Twitter posts blocked, banned, Instagram posts blocked, banned, Facebook posts blocked and banned, shadow banned for years. I can't do this for free. I just asked you to donate, man. You go ahead, donate on your own. Um, I gotta provide for myself somehow. I really enjoy this though. I put this out for free, and I love y'all. I love being able to represent the knowledge that's on the internet, because the internet takes a whole bunch of heat, man. People are like, "Oh, the internet's so trash." Like, how about you go and browse through it a little bit and find something that's solid, like that you can't knock down, and that has some truth to it. And man, this is what I feel like feeding back to y'all, that solid stuff. And when it is, if ever conspiracy, that will be labeled. But for the most part, I'm really just giving out documents and information that's hidden, but it's solid. And you know I just want to be able to do this forever, and I need y'all support, man. Tell your friends, and anyone who wants to join me on one of these reads, let me know in the message below. You guys have a wonderful night. Blessings and love to you. Peace out.